This is the Jimmy Anderson Show, the weekly report on Oregon State University basketball.
Hi everybody, I'm Bob Akamian, and along with the coach, welcome to the Jimmy Anderson Show and Brent Berry highlight film, or so it will seem this week. What a way for Brent to end up his senior year at Oregon State.
Well, Brent had a great weekend, and so did Mustafa Hoff and Stephen Brown, our other two seniors. A great way, a fitting way for them to leave Corvallis with two nice wins, and both of them, all three of them, did themselves very proud.
Now we'll dust off the old broom and give it to you for a sweep in the final two home games of the weekend. We'll talk about those two games, preview the trip to UCLA and Southern Cal, and I know we can't do justice to this in a half hour, but try to wrap up 37 years of your career here at Oregon State. We'll share some of the highs and the lows, and certainly, before we start here, I know we've gone all season and we haven't really talked about your decision to retire, and you said from the beginning you wanted to kind of keep it to yourself even after it became public, and I guess now is the time to talk about saying goodbye.
Well, you know, when the season is going, that's the time for work, and distractions can always be a hindrance when it comes to concentration. And this team is no different. This coach is no different than a lot of people, and it was kind of a decision I made that I wanted to pretty much keep anything personal in the background, so that we could keep basketball and what we needed to do to get some wins this year in front. And that's pretty much the way it's been right up to this point.
And I know you didn't want to have a farewell tour by any means either.
No, I guess the old saying is that's not my cup of tea. I just like to enjoy the team and my staff. I have an excellent staff, and we had some work to do. We were trying to get into the playoffs if possible. It didn't work out, but we're still making improvements. We're starting to get some wins, and we're looking forward really to this weekend. I'm not really giving much thought past this weekend as to what's going on.
It's certainly exciting with #1 UCLA on deck Thursday night. We'll talk about that down the road. Larry Harris in the studio. He'll give us an in-person scouting report on Southern Cal, Saturday's opponent. Well, let's start with some of the fun stuff last Thursday night. The Stanford Cardinal at Gill Coliseum, a team seemingly headed to postseason, but they really stubbed their toe up in the valley with 2 losses. And I think the best thing about this game was we took it to them early and really made it stick.
Well, our defense, I think, was our real key. We went to a full court pressure, and I think it threw them their timing off. They didn't get into their half-court offense, and that is what they like to do. But we had some great performance from several players.
Al Popping there with the dunk. That was the only Stanford lead at 4-3. And then Vladimir Heredia gets it going with a couple of those patented jump shots. Quickly, it's a 6-point lead. And get a little depth off the bench right away. Sonny Benjamin gets in there with a few points.
Well, actually, Sonny had the time he's been on the floor, Sonny has played very well. It's just that we don't take Mustafa off the floor very often, so his time is a little limited. But he's improving all the time.
Now you see, making his way underneath the hoop. This makes it a 13-point lead. And it keeps on coming in the first half. Brown finds Vetter. He draws the foul. It counts. Lead stays in double digits. And now the Brent Berry Show is going to get started here. 7 steals in this game. This one goes in for the Slammer.
Well, our assist factor went up. Our turnovers went down. Our defense was more intense. So all those things certainly do give you a better opportunity. And in Stanford's situation, I think the pressure was on. And when we got the lead, you could see that this was a must-win for them, and it was just going to be too tough for them.
This is very pretty, the reverse for Brent. We'll see it again from a couple of angles. This made it a 20-point lead. And that's one for plays of the week right there. Same thing now. He's going to trade the ball off with Stephen Brown, put down another slammer, hold that lead at 20. Now we get to see a little of Rob Williams on the runner. And Sonny will put it down to make it a 16-point lead at the half, 48-32. And Stanford seems almost shell-shocked at this point.
Well, I think they were shell-shocked, Bob, because we played very well. We shot the ball well. We played hard. We played as a unit. We played as a team concept right to the max. Each player contributed in some fashion. Stephen Brown got many assists for us. Everybody, including all 10 players that played, got rebounds. So all those statistics, like in team concept, really pays off.
You saw Brevin Knight there with a couple of scores. Stanford got the lead down, but never got inside of 10 points. And that's important because they had a lot of time when they made their little run. But he kept them at least 11 points down. And there's the turnover again. 2 more points, and it just kept going. And I think that's the other good part of this win is to really keep a team down. Don't let them get back into the game.
Well, everybody makes runs in a game one way or the other, but you got to limit those runs and then try to build on the little cushion you do have. And Robert Williams had an excellent weekend. He was in double-figure scoring. I thought he played intense defense. And he and Brent seemed to look for each other. And Stephen Brown's in the action, too.
Yeah, Rob played 23 minutes, 10 points, 5 of 6 shooting against the Cardinal. And it's a done deal, 90-71 the final. Heredia muscles in for that one. And that's it. Good night, Stanford. 90-71, a 19-point victory. And the final numbers looking pretty good. Shot almost 50% for the game, put down the free throws, a lot of trips to the line. Stanford not able to take advantage of the turnovers when they were able to get them. Brent, 33 points, career high to go with the 7 steals. The Chief back on his game, 15 and 6. Told you Rob had 10 off the bench. And Brevin Knight, just about the only offense Stanford had going with his 26 points, 6 assists. But that's the other number there of 6 turnovers.
Well, that's the start that Coach Montgomery was concerned about, is that trying to finish at the end of our pressure. And we got those turnovers, and we capitalized on almost every one of them, either on an easy layup on a breakaway or a nice assist by Brent or somebody else to finish off those turnovers.
So a nice victory against the Cardinal. The Saturday game against the Cal Golden Bears, looking for a season sweep of those guys. Did the Beavers get it? We'll show you the results when we come back on the Jimmy Anderson Show. The home finale was Saturday afternoon against the California Golden Bears, a team you beat pretty bad down in Harmon Arena. Surprising year for them because obviously they have quite a bit of talent, but they've really had a hard time putting it together.
Well, from number 1 through 12, they're the most talented physical team in the conference. But they are young. They play 2 freshmen. They had a couple injuries, Grigsby namely one that was a real loss for them. And, you know, you keep thinking they're going to win and win big, and they have. They beat UCLA, they beat Arizona on their home, on those two teams' home court, so they're capable. It's just a matter of their being young, I think, making excuses for them a little bit, but a little bit out of sync. But it doesn't hurt our feelings when we can beat the Bears 2 games in 1 year.
No, it's a nice bit of prestige, in fact, to
Right.
sweep that series. Let's pick up the highlights from Saturday afternoon. Of course, before the game, we'll see a little bit more of this later on. A nice presentation. All the seniors out there and their folks for the final time. Brent Barry feeling the warmth of the crowd at Yo Coliseum. Coach got a nice little present, which we'll share with the rest of you if you didn't get to see this in person. Then it was time to get down to business. This game was a little rough at times. Folks gets away for a dunk right off the bat. And you let Cal run with the ball, they're going to get something going. But Brent got things started again early on and keeps it even.
Well, when Brent's shooting the ball well, and this is the thing that we have to have him do, things happen. It just seems to pick up his energy flow and everybody around him. So we had that kind of action from the three, from running loose on the floor and getting slams, and everybody else just backed him right up.
And here it comes, off some pressure. Turnover's going to come, and you know it's going to the slammer. Brent's running out of dunks after Thursday's game. He's trying to mix it up a little bit. And this makes it a quick 12-point lead early on. Brent was 12 of 17 shooting, 4 of 7 from three-point range. And if you didn't like that one, we've got another one coming up. This is not a replay.
Nice pass by Stephan. That one there almost bounced out.
That wouldn't have been as pretty. It made it a 17-point game here. Now this time Brent will just do it all by himself. Rebound, coast to coast, 36-23 Beavs. Just before the half, California gets things cranking. And they put on a little bit of pressure, scored back-to-back hoops, and they got it down to an 8-point game at the half.
Well, they were trapping us over on the wing, and we were dribbling down farther into the corner, and we were coming up short with any passing lanes to move the ball to, so all of a sudden we were getting in bad trouble ourselves.
KJ scores a hoop. Now he's up with a loose ball, finds Duck, who is a nice player, the sophomore. One of their harder workers, and it's an 8-point game at the half, 40-32. All right, we get into the second half action now. Right away, got to shut them down. And this is getting rough. Duck going in for the shot. Brent blocks it. At the other end, missed the layup, and this gets things started for KJ Roberts. Makes it a 4-point game. Cal would get within 1, but again, they never took the lead.
Well, you can see by the speed on the floor how athletic the Bears are. And every time they come in with somebody, that person seems to be even a little more athletic than the next one that just came off.
Big hoop here by Vlad Heredia, draws the foul. This is after a timeout and gets the lead back up to 4 points. Now Brent into the stands, meeting his fans one-on-one. The no look. And the block shot. Rob Williams is going to score at the other end. Bing. The lead begins to grow again. Cal shut down an 11-2 run here at 64-55. Brent again. And it's just about in the bag. Nail the 3. And you can extend that career high one more from 33 to 34. Some nice thanks from the crowd. Take a bow, Mr. Barry. Next stop, the NBA. And also a fine farewell from Mustafa Hoff, Stephen Brown, the coach. And that is it. The last time off the floor at Gill, 83-67, a very solid victory. And again, tremendous 2-game swing. You look at the shooting, even better in this game. And individually, Brent Barry again resets the career high. He's always good these last 2 games at Gill. He did this last year against the LA schools. Now a 33 and a 34 back-to-back. The Chief has a nice night. There's Stephan's last line. And again, Randy Duck, outstanding sophomore for Cal, ends up with 12 points. He ties for the high scoring honor. So you couldn't write a better script in those two games.
Perfect script. And the thing that I think was more impressive in all the stats is the shooting percentage we held our opponents to. 37 in one game, 40 in another. And when we're playing defense, we're capable of doing that. If we don't, teams have been shooting in the 50s, high 40s. But this was a real measure of our defensive talent in both these games.
Well, all season long, we've been letting you meet the various players on the team. Now we're going to visit with some of the coaching staff. Larry Harris joins us as our special guest as the Jimmy Anderson Show continues.
From all of us who, like you and your family, bleed orange and black, airfare for two to anywhere in the world. One thing though, Jim, that airfare for two to anywhere in the world is at Fifi's choosing. Jimmy, we know that your role in providing guidance to the Oregon State program is changing once again, but we know that like your predecessors in the position of Oregon State head basketball coach, you always be a Beaver. Thank you for all your priceless memories you provided us, and all our best for all, an equally rewarding future. Thanks, Jimmy.
Boy, a gathering of giants before the game. Ralph Miller, Paul Valenti out there with you. I know that was special to you to have them sharing that moment with you before the Cal game.
Yeah, and Mrs. Gill, Helen in attendance too. It certainly is the tradition and history of the school over quite a few generations, and to me that was the most important, to have them on the floor with me during that little episode of whatever you want to call it.
And you get a nice little present. That's you get now. The Arizona gave you a trip to a resort down in the desert. Ducks give you the nice bookends, and now from Oregon State, the trip anywhere. You say maybe Italy at Fifi's behest.
Right. I think I'm getting the message. They want me on the road someplace.
Well, there you go. Well, Larry Harris joins us this week. 3 years as an assistant coach in this program. I know you brought in a lot of these young men we have today. And Coach, maybe you want to talk a little bit about Larry's contribution in the past year.
Well, my entire staff, I think, is very class people. Larry and Andy McCluskey and Rich Wool. And Larry came to us from Duquesne. That was my first really acquaintance with him, and I've gotten to become very, very attached to both he and Carla, his family, great people, hard workers. He knows the game of basketball, and he's just a special friend.
Larry, just talk about the 3 years you've spent here. Obviously, to bring in I think of Robert Williams for one, a young man you found this year who seems to have quite a nice future.
Well, first I want to give Coach $5 for that speech you just gave right there. But Rob has an opportunity to be a pretty good player. Obviously, there's a lot of work ahead of that. But I just wanted to cover one thing for me, Bob, is that I consider it an honor to be sitting here on Coach's last show. As he said, we really have gotten to know each other pretty well over these last 3 years, and I don't think that they could find another person to handle Oregon State's basketball program with as much class as Jimmy Anderson.
Well, I know, and it's kind of an unusual situation to have. You were there very publicly after the Cal game saying you endorse Larry's candidacy for the head coaching job, and I know you're very interested in it. Tell us about that.
Well, I am interested, and I believe that I'm a candidate, and we'll just have to see from there.
The classic question was something that what makes you think you're ready now to be a head coach?
Well, obviously my 3 years with Coach, and I spent 6 years at Duquesne with some pretty good people, and I've been studying this game for a long time, and I just think it's time.
Do you like what you have to work with? Again, some young people coming back, but a lot of promise out there.
Well, we've always felt that we have some nice young kids in the program, like the young kids you had mentioned, Robert Williams, Vladimir obviously has another year with us, David Drayford, Jerron Brown is back. We have a young kid from Yugoslavia, Sasha Petrovic, who's going to be a very good player. So there's a good foundation there, and I'm excited about it, obviously, and we'll just have to see what happens.
So now, Coach, what makes you so willing to go out on a limb and endorse Larry?
Well, because he has talent. He's a great salesman. He's very strong individual in his convictions, and he's a no-nonsense person. So all the qualities you need in this profession. It's a tough profession. He has the grit to go along with that, and so I think undoubtedly he'd do a great job if he was selected at Oregon State. He's already instrumental in having 2 early signees, both at 6'8", one from Washington and one from Detroit area. So he has a handle on recruiting. He knows how important that is, and that's the #1 thing in this whole profession. You have to have players to win, and I think Larry can do that for us.
Well, we're going to have you stick around and help us out with the scouting reports and talk about Southern Cal a little bit. We'll also share some thoughts on the conference and where the Pac-10 is going in postseason. And I guess the fun part is we still don't know because it's going to go down to the wire this week. And you got a chance. I want to ask both of you first, though, just about a chance of getting a crack at UCLA in the #1 position because we saw them so early in the season here, and they weren't at their best that weekend, but they have really grabbed onto that top spot. I mean, they seem to have a lot of momentum.
Well, I don't think we can ask for a better favor, really, because you play the #1 team in the country on their home floor. It gives you a chance to prove yourself again, and to me, this has got to be a dream come true for these young players to get a shot at #1 in the country. That's what it's all about.
What do you think of it? There's a lot of candidacy. A lot of people have talked about Ed O'Bannon's candidacy for Player of the Year, and I know Dick Vitale's waving the blue and gold pom-poms now. What has Ed done now to really elevate his game in this season?
Well, I think he's developed a better shot from the outside, which has really helped him. He's always been very athletic and a very good slasher, but I think he's picked up his game and his jump shot from the outside, and it's kind of opened up some new avenues for him.
All right, that's a preliminary look. We'll come back with the scouting report and some final thoughts on the '95 season as the Jimmy Anderson Show continues. Well, UCLA will start off this weekend on Thursday night down at Paul Lane. We talked about the thrill of facing number one. The Bruins clearly are an offensive machine now. First time out here was pretty close, 87-78 the final. And as I recall from that game, UCLA really lit it up in the second half.
Well, we were up, I think it was 6 to 8 points with 12 minutes to go, and they picked up their level of intensity on defense. And in the process, we started to throw the ball around and play catch with them rather than their own players, and they ended up beating us by 9. But we're capable of beating them on their home floor. We almost did it a year ago. Charlie McKinney came up short on 2 free throws,
That's right.
and they hit a 3 at the buzzer. That was a real Donnybrook type of competition. So I think we're going to go in there with a good attitude, and we just have to execute. You've got to get them in a half-court game or they can blitz you very quickly.
Well, let's take a look at some of the highlights from that first game at Gill back in January. And you will find these names familiar. The little guard, of course, Tyus Edney, who had a pretty good night against us there. He really kept them in it for a while when their offense was failing. The big man Zedek can be hot and cold. He's always good on national TV, though. He really comes through on those games. And, of course, the O'Bannon brothers, and Ed, again, pushing for the Player of the Year honors. Also that night back in January, Mustafa Hoff had a career-high 31 points in that game. So it's UCLA on Thursday night. Now, Southern Cal will be the second opponent, final game of the regular season. That's coming up Saturday at the Sports Arena. First time out, it was 90-89 in overtime. Larry, this is your team. Let's talk about the Trojans.
Well, they're very athletic, and they like the three-point shot, and they have 4 guys who can put it in: Murray, States Bozeman, Martin, and Harris. And you know, inside is that guy right there, number 21, who's probably one of the better players in the country.
Lorenzo Orr, who's played fairly well against us over the years, too.
Fairly well,
and
fairly strong, and awful high. But you know, we're in for a battle down there, and obviously, you know, in this league, when you go to someone else's court, it's going to be a battle right off the bat, and then when you start throwing in the athletes that they have, it's going to be a tremendous battle. So we're looking forward to it.
And a lot of pride on the line in that last game of the regular season,
A lot of pride.
too.
Senior night.
That's right. Well, that's going to be your farewell from coaching, and I know there's always a decompression time when you get done with something like this. What do you see yourself doing in the months ahead?
Well, I'm going to plant a garden, and I'm going to do some traveling. And I'd like to travel along and follow Brent's progress and be supportive to him in his endeavor to get into the professional ranks. I'd like to go to Phoenix and watch the Desert Classic there where he is going to be playing, and help Mustafa if I can a little bit, and any of the other seniors that have a chance maybe to go to Europe. So I'll be close at hand, but a lot of it will be in the backyard, making sure things are growing okay, and then some travel.
You know, you've had that life in basketball that I think a lot of people have sought over the years. And I know Ralph Miller, when he retired, said he just wanted to be remembered as a teacher who happened to teach this great game. And I'd have to think that might be in your mind somewhere, too.
Well, of all the coaches that I know, I've graduated in education, and that was my whole thought, was to be a teacher. There's a lot of coaches out there that are business majors and engineers, and mine was education, and that's where I come from.
Well, through 6 years of thick and thin, we've appreciated your treatment of us here in the TV studio, and I know, speaking for all the crew, we're going to miss you, but it's been a great 6 years with you, Jim.
Yeah, I'll recognize all the faces for sure when I run into them in Corvallis, and I appreciate your good work and friendship too, Bob.
That will do it for another season of Oregon State University basketball. We thank all of you for joining us, Craig Anderson, and of course our great crew here at the Communication Media Center. For the Coach Larry Harris, I'm Bob Akamian. Thanks for joining us on the Jimmy Anderson Show.